In today's day and age, mental health awareness is strived for more than ever, whether it's in professional environments or just an ad you see while scouring the internet talking about help and support for things such as depression, anxiety, or resources for coping mechanisms through everyday life. All of which are equally important, and it's helpful to spread these things to break stigma or negative views around the issues. But as all topics go, there are some stuck between the cracks of the public eye that go unnoticed or even ignored completely, even when brought to light. Today, we will be talking about and uncovering the truths and history around DID, or Dissociative Identity Disorder, formerly known as MPD. To lay some basic grounding, dissociative identity disorder is not a personality disorder. If I hear anyone say that, you will be kicked off of the premises. To get that out of the way, it is a dissociative disorder, meaning it involves the loss of connection with memory, identity, consciousness, and many other things. DID is caused by severe, repetitive trauma in childhood, usually developing around the ages of 3 to 10 years old. And from then on, it's lifelong. There's no way to cure it, and there's therapies to help process the trauma, but that's as far as it's gone. To better understand the disorder and its mixed origins, let's head all the way back to 1584. Jeanne Ferry, a 25-year-old Dominican nun, wrote her own biography and account of an exorcism performed on her, which took place in Mons, France. She was brought before the archbishop on an account of demonic possession, and during her time, a demon, in quotes of course, Naman speaks through her and hides documents from her and blocks out religious knowledge. Over many days and weeks or longer, she has instances of night terrors, self-mutilation, memory gaps, among many other issues that arose. During a confession, Jeanne reveals she was given one of her devils from her father and another man who lured her with apples and sweets and harmed her when she was around 4 years old. And following that, she gets a headache from recounting such traumatic memories. After being offered protection and someone to be a better father figure for her, an amount of her devils calmed and stopped lasting out as much. Yippee! Of course, there's much more to this account, but in later revisions over this history, many conclude this is one of the earliest recorded cases of dissociative identity disorder due to her severe childhood trauma and other telltale symptoms of the disorder. Given the memory loss, the loss of identity from what she called devils at the time, and given Jeanne Ferry's religious background as well, it would add up that she perceived them as demons as well, some analysis is concluded. Another case recorded later in time, in 1811, is the document of Mary Reynolds. Mary Reynolds, when she was 8 years old, was a victim of religious persecution, which caused her and her family to flee Birmingham, England. Later, when she was 18, her parents took notice that her personality and overall person would switch, and with one of these said personalities, she had less access to recalling her memory and experiencing things. This case shaped how the disorder was thought of back then, and with further revisiting of the account, modern psychologists further confirm this is DID. While there are other early cases of DID that aged over the years, there is one amongst them all that further poked the flame of negativity around the disorder, and which a famous horror movie was based off of. This brings us to the infamous year of 1977. In Ohio State campus, Billy Milligan, a 22-year-old man, was arrested and brought to trial for kidnapping, robbing, and other heinous things done to 3 women. He pled not guilty about insanity and claimed to have 24 different personalities. Upon this, psychologists and doctors ran tests and diagnostics, and did indeed come to the conclusion he had the disorder, and he was deemed not guilty and brought to a psych ward. Years later, his mother, sister, and brother all accounted for Chalmer Milligan, Billy Milligan's father, was heavily abusive and most likely the cause of the disorder forming. But once the initial court case was known and hit news station upon news station, anyone with this disorder began to be villainized, and as misinformation spread, made others with this disorder gain a bad reputation over this one instance. Crazy, isn't it? DID is still heavily under-researched, and often it is misdiagnosed. People with it have difficulty finding the help they need, but as time goes on, there is the beginning to be a more understanding around the disorder, despite there being so much negativity around it still. Since we now have a better understanding of the early history, what exactly do people experience with this disorder? Living with DID isn't easy for those who have it. They experience amnesia-level memory loss and blackouts most times on a daily basis, various levels of dissociation, a mental process in where someone disconnects from themselves and the things around them, which from an outside view can look like someone is spacing out. With DID having severe trauma, people with it suffer from PTSD and traumatic flashbacks, as well as depression and anxiety. Functioning daily with these things takes a lot of mental and physical energy from those with DID, and all cope differently with them, perhaps with bettering communication within their system, a system being the collective person with the disorder, or making checklists and journals to keep track of things. There's a lot of common vocabulary used by DID systems, like the term alter, which refers to another personality within the system. A switch is when another alter essentially takes the wheel of the body, which often referred to as the front. Multiple alters can be front at one time, referred to as co-fronting or being co-conscious. DID is also used as a survival mechanism. The brain develops to keep itself safe from trauma, so it splits alters to help in some way, shape, or form with surviving and getting through events. Given that alters can be almost anything from regular human beings to inhuman entities, and even things from comfort medias that got the person with DID through tough times. No system can control splits that happen. There, however, the brain processes events, and that in itself can be a mystery. Many people with DID usually can only get diagnosed in their mid-20s, despite the disorder being observed and shown as early as age 6. Roughly 1.5% of the world has dissociative identity disorder, which is about 120 million people. That's only those documented and able to get diagnosed. With much stigma and misunderstanding and under-researching around this disorder, it's important to create safe spaces. Keep yourself informed and bring awareness to those dealing with this disorder.